Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Steve Kinney. I'm a producer and engineer. Thanks for joining me again in this series where we take a look at Luna from top to bottom, where we cover everything from the very beginning of your session all the way to the end at the export. Now we are diving a little bit deeper in part 6 here. We're gonna be taking a look at headphone cue mixes. Now timestamps are available for your convenience, so feel free to jump around. All I ask is that you hit the like button, leave a comment below, let me know you were here, and subscribe to the channel for more. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so one of the coolest things about Apollo interfaces and why they're so sought after is they're really low latency, and they also have really clever, intelligent routing inside of the device so that you can come up with really complex routing schemes that allow you to have specific mixes sent only to the headphones as well as specific mixes for monitors. It's really like a complex Pro Studio routing all in one box. So before we dive in on how to set up a really cool cue mix or really specific individual mix inside of this session, what we have to do is first make sure that we have cue mixes enabled in the first place. Now there's two really quick ways to do that. So the first way that we're going to enable cue mixes is we're going to go up here to the diamond logo and go to our settings panel. And once we're in settings, you can see that there is this drop down menu that says cue bus count. Right now I have 2 selected. I am on my Apollo X8, but I have the ability to have cue mixes as well for the Apollo Solo, the Apollo Twin. So this is where I can enable that. Okay, so now that we're in our session, the second way that we can enable cue mixes is we're gonna go up to the workflow panel and make sure that we have record enable selected here. And from there, we can go to where it says cue outputs just near the counter panel. From there, I have the ability to choose what cues receive what mix. So if I wanted headphone output 1 to receive the actual mix inside of my DAW here, I just choose mix, and you can see that it changes and it says monitor mix to headphone 1. If I deselect that, it says cue 1 to headphone 1. So right now, both of these are ready to build a custom mix. So let's jump to the mixer and show you how you would route that. So let's go ahead and only look at cues. So we'll collapse everything here. And now we'll expand our cues panel. Now, real quickly, we have the send knob that we can change. Alternatively, we could expand this and it becomes a fader. So I could just recreate my mix that way. And then I have the ability to go pre-fader, or I can mute the cue output. Now, I like to have all of my cue mixes pre-fader. This is going to ensure that if I make any changes to the mix on the fly, that the headphone mix stays the exact same. So one of the quickest ways that you can build an individual headphone mix is what I could do is come to this main track, which is my master bus, and I could just send that at unity gain, so it'd be 0 or close to it, right? And I'll have it pre-fader, and then whatever the artist wants, that's what I'm gonna give them. So if they say, I wanna have more acoustic guitars, so I'd come over here to the acoustic guitar track, and I would just start to bring up some level until they say that it's good there. If they wanna have more bass, I could come over to the bass channel and just add some more bass. And that's a really quick way. Now that is going to be impacted at that point from any changes. So if I start adding more bass on this fader, it's gonna send it to this main track, which is also feeding that cue output 1. So in that manner, that is going to change that way. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so let's talk about the second, more in-depth way to create headphone mixes inside of Luna. But before we do, if you're new to the Apollo platform, I've just launched the new Heritage Classic Sessions pack. It's got over 30 presets to get your sessions up and running smoothly and quickly and creatively. It's a great way to learn signal chains that get the most from your Apollo, as well as a way to understand traditional workflows inside of studios everywhere. It's also an awesome way to support the channel, and it really means that I can focus and create more content for you guys at home. So I really appreciate any support you throw my way. Okay, back to headphone mixes. Now, if I wanted to take it one step further and I had a really large mix, if I wanted to just take that starting point and expand on it, what I could do is I could right-click one of the channels and choose copy mix to cue, and I could choose Q1 or Q2. So since we got something on Q1, let's take a look at Q2. So now you see all of these knobs have changed, and if I expand it to sends on fader, you can see that the mix now follows and closely resembles everything in my main mix. There is one catch though. The tracks that I've hidden and muted are not going to be muted in this because it's a separate output. So what I want to do real quick is just unhide these tracks that I've hidden and muted. So the scratch guitar and scratch vocal, you can see that they are not muted, and if I hit the play button, they're going to come through my cue mix. So I'll go ahead and just mute those. Alternatively, I could go into post fader mode, and that should also solve the problem. So it's kind of like two ways to solve the same problem. One more additional catch with doing the copy mix to cue that I've noticed is that it's sending outputs again of every track there. So if it's sending your drums and your bass and your drum and bass bus, if they're busing to the same source, you're actually going to be receiving that same source twice. So for example, let's literally take a look at this. Let's hit the spill function and just look at the drums and bass. Both the drums and the bass are coming to this rhythm bus, and this rhythm bus is also feeding Q2 right now. So if I solo this bus out and we listen to this real quick, you can see that in my main row of faders here, the drums and the bass are feeding the rhythm bus, and the rhythm bus is what's feeding the main bus. In my cue mix, every one of these sources are routing to that headphone. So I actually don't want this. What I really want is just to have just this rhythm bus coming through here, which is how the song's going to actually sound. So what I would do is, if we were to just start over here and I just reset this headphone mix, really what I'd want to do if I was building an individual mix here is come to this rhythm bus and just push this up to unity gain, and then that way you're only hearing what this rhythm bus is actually doing, along with that extra bit of processing that that bus is doing. So if these tracks, if the drum and the bass are sending, if I'm doing it this way, they're going to be hitting the headphones before it hits that bus processing. And again, that's not exactly how the mix sounds, and that's not how they might necessarily want it. If they wanted to have more bass, I do have the ability to choose how much of what signal I give them in addition to the overall mix that I have. But most people, when they want their own mix, they're usually, hey, start with this as your bass template and then go from there. So let's unspill this. Let's rebuild this mix so that it follows more closely what this mix actually sounds like. So what I would do is highlight all of my tracks here and just make sure that everything's down, everything's unmuted, and everything is pre-fader. This is the starting point that you're gonna get. So what I would do is I would come to this main fader track, I'd hit the spill button, and then from here you can see I have my guitar bus, my acoustic bus, my rhythm bus. This is what the main fader really ultimately sees. So I'm going to select those and just bring those up. And now it's as easy as that. They're going to be hearing the main mix. And then from there, if they want more acoustic guitar, what I could do is come to my acoustic guitar bus and I could either push that up, or I could go into the acoustic guitar bus itself and push up the individual tracks inside of their sends individually as well. So now that we've dived into cue mixes and headphone mixes inside of Luna, we're now ready for that big tracking project. And if you haven't checked out part 2 in the series, that's where we cover all those tracking topics, so be sure to check that video out. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, leave a comment below, let me know you stopped by, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. If you'd like to work with me directly, you can reach out to me on Instagram at @TheSteveKinney. And to support the channel further, check out thestevekinney.com. Be sure to check out the Console Classics and Heritage Classics packs to support the channel further. Thanks again, guys, for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.